No More Time, Nikolai Rozanov. Thrown through a vortex and having his age reduced to 10 years old, this intrepid hero must conquer powerful foes in order to restore himself. Can he do it? Will you help him complete his lofty task? The player will play as an elder druid thrown through time by dark wizards. As he is thrown through time, the player gets turned back into a child. Now they must make their way through many levels, defeat many bosses, and return time to its rightful place in this 2D platforming puzzle. The player goes through the level using their druidic magic to make the environment change to benefit them. For example, they can make a tree sprout from a sapling rolling a large boulder out of the way. They can also grow a vine down from a branch to swing across a large gap, or they could cause it to rain and fill the gap with water. You will use your druidic magic to affect the environment so you can solve puzzles and get to the end of the level before time ends. Then you will learn more magic and beat the dark wizards. There is no specific way to get through a level. The player can use their druidic powers in many specific locations. The player will have a bar of mana. This will allow the players to cast more spells that they will relearn as they go. If the player dies or loses due to time, they will forget one of their higher level spells that they relearned. If you get hit 3 times, you die. Forces that work against the player will be a few living entities: fire elementals, water elementals, earth elementals, wind elementals for the main levels. There will be a few bosses in the middle or end of levels that will need to be defeated. There is also the dark wizard that will need to be defeated at key levels. The player will have many choices throughout the levels. For example, if the player is on the top level and must move to the next area, the quickest path is blocked by trees. The player is equipped with a staff and druidic power and an elemental blast that they received for getting past level 2. There are 2 enemies on the path below them, a fire elemental and an earth elemental. They see that the vines on the trees can be grown out, as well as the sapling by the boulder. The player can grow the vines down to the second level. This will block the earth elemental as a natural border, but the fire elemental will be able to burn its way up to the player through these vines. It will clear the way through the trees, but now the player must fight the fire elemental. The fire elemental will use projectiles, meaning it is a long-range enemy. You cannot use your bow staff because the staff is a physical attack against an elemental enemy. The fire has an elemental body, so you would have to use your elemental blast. However, the player could also have the sapling grow from the boulder. This would fall and make a border for the fire elemental, but as it is made of earth, the earth elemental will be able to move right through it. Then the player would have to take the long way around fighting the earth elemental. The earth elemental resists magical damage, so you would be forced to use your staff, shattering the enemy. So the player could choose a quicker path or a slower path, and they would get to choose what enemy they would fight to do this. The game is a 2D platformer like Super Mario in that they are both 2D games where you get power-ups. The difference in them is that the power-ups in Super Mario last until you die, but you can only have one active at a time. You do not get a bar where you could use them all one after another. In No More Time, when you learn a new spell, you will keep it as long as you are able to stay alive. There are 2 play styles to No More Time. You can play the fast route to the Dark Wizards, where you do the bare minimum of every level to get to the end fight. This will get you more spells to relearn, but will result in the least number of known spells and the least creative ways you can kill enemies. Alternatively, you can do the more explorative method, where you go and find treasures that will teach you more spells, and this will give you more abilities to use in the environment and in fights. A possible problem with taking away abilities as players die is that we may take away an ability that a player relied too heavily on. They may no longer be able to get through levels. To remedy this, I would have extensive playtests focused on the punishment of death and the lost powers. Citations: